Today I'm very excited to be speaking and introducing Cycle Network. Our goal with Cycle Network is to make the user experience of Web2 people when transiting into Web3 a lot smoother, make everything a lot easier to understand, a bit more approachable. And that's why we've built what we call a trustless liquidity abstraction via verifiable state aggregation solution. But before actually delving into what the solutions are, I would first like to speak a bit more about the challenges that we face at this point in time when it comes to Web3 transition. As we know, there are billions of people using the internet, there are billions of people using social media, but when it comes to people using native Web3 applications or chains, we see that that number is significantly decreased. And if we try to dissect and analyze the reasons of why that might be the case, we'll see that the whole process of actually approaching Web3 is very daunting and intimidating to the average Web2 user. There are many chains, it's very complex to engage with them, have multiple accounts, engage with different layers, breach assets. And it's only when we go to centralized exchanges that we see that users might feel a bit more comfortable in terms of engaging with the space. And to a certain extent, we can claim that centralized exchanges have managed to achieve what we call chain abstraction, but they've managed to do so in a centralized kind of manner. At Cycle Network, we want to achieve that same goal, but find a decentralized way to go about it. Another big issue we face in Web3 is the fact that liquidity is fragmented. As you probably all know, it was discussed earlier here in the panel, but also in the morning field presentations. There's so much liquidity to go around, and we have new projects, new chains, new layers being deployed every single day, and that keeps projects from actually reaching their full potential and making the most of the resources they have available, simply because as time goes by, less resources become available to them because of this fragmentation. So at Cycle Network, our mission that becomes to obtain a global state view of all blockchains, unifying the liquidity that is scattered, simplifying the Web3 ecosystem, enhancing user experience, and actually expediting the transition of Web2 users into Web3. And at this point in time, if a traditional Web2 user that doesn't really understand how Web3 works, wants to engage with different chains and different apps on different chains, they have to go through a very complicated process. They have to hold many different tokens. They have to pay different types of gas fees multiple times. And again, this is very intimidating, and it might keep them from actually engaging in the process of doing so. With Cycle, however, what we have achieved is that users will only need to engage directly with the app or chain of their choosing without the need to pay multiple fees and multiple times in multiple different tokens. On the contrary, they would only pay gas fee once and directly engage with the app or chain of their choice. The same goes with developers. If they want to deploy their apps on different chains, then again, they have to design it and program it in different languages, which makes it a lot lengthier. Again, it needs more resources to achieve that outcome. But with Cycle, they can integrate our SDK, and then they can tap into a wider pool of Web3 users. So now we've shared quite a bit of information, so I want to reiterate that Cycle Network is a blockchain-agnostic unified liquidity network that is based on a verifiable state aggregation. It is not a bridge, it is not a ZK prover, it is not a data availability layer, and it is not a layer 1. And if we're now to engage in a more practical and tangible overview of how Cycle Network works, at the base, we have the security layer, which is Ethereum, so we inherit its stability as well as security. In the middle, we have the Cycle layer, which is what we use to engage and connect to other blockchains. And at the top, we have the extend layer, which refers to all the blockchain that Cycle network is connected to, except Ethereum, of course. And we also have two interfaces, what we refer to as roll-in and roll-out. Roll-in refers to all the transactions and messages received by Cycle network from other chains, and roll-out refers to all the messages and transactions sent by Cycle network to other chains. And we also have two modules for our state protection. And this is what we call the omni-state channel indexer and the verifiable state aggregation, which is what I'm going to describe as the presentation progresses. Yeah, and let's first start by the omni-state channel indexer. As you can see from point one, the indexer controls the sequencer to build batches based on the chronological order of the target chain's state. This verifies and ensures that the sequence is what it needs to be and it's the right one. Then the contract strictly manages the index configuration for block heights within Cycle, which again ensures the integrity of the transaction. Then the third point, referring to adding a target chain to the Cycle network through governance, ensures transparency. And then finally, the control from the indexer contract that allows for the replay of all transaction processes maintains the consistency across the network. And as we can see here on the top, we have the extend layer. And the extend layer is actually run by the chain indexer, which identifies the sequence of transactions that need to be verified. And that sequence can then be verified by our decentralized sequencer network. And I know that here there is a lot of information and it might be a bit complex to follow, but what I want you to take away from this slide is that right now we're one of Symbiotic's launch partners, and we're using Symbiotic to actually build our own decentralized sequencer network. And that decentralized sequencer network is going to be used to, one, build batches of transactions from other blockchains to Cycle, and secondly, facilitate the process through which assets from non-EVM chains will be able to withdraw to non-EVM chains. Yeah, and I would like to take some time to discuss the solutions and the products that we actually built to tackle the problems that we've described so far. And the first solution that we have is what we call the liquidity aggregator. As I've mentioned at the beginning, Cycle Network is able to connect with all chains in a seamless and trustless manner. This means that it is also able to aggregate liquidity in an abstract layer and achieve what we call liquidity abstraction. Then the network is able to provide that liquidity to dApps or chains that might be in need of it. And we are also able to collaborate with liquidity providers that have excess liquidity in order to enhance our own liquidity reserves. More specifically, we've built a product we called the Liquidity Faucet in collaboration with LTP. For those who might be unfamiliar with LTP, LTP is actually the premier broker in the APAC region. They serve over 25 countries and they generate an annual trading volume of over $400 billion. And projects or chains, apps will be able to access Cycle Network's liquidity pool simply by integrating our SDK. Then the second solution that we're building is what we call the full chain DeFi hub. Again, Cycle Network is able to connect to other chains in a seamless and trustless manner. And this is able to create what we call an omni or a full chain account, giving you access and allowing you to manage all your assets from different chains from a single place. And then This makes the whole process a lot more secure, a lot more efficient, and definitely a lot more cost-effective. More specifically, we built what we refer to as Piggy Bank. And at this point in time, Piggy Bank has over 73,000 accounts and has over 145,000 cross-mint transactions. And there are a couple of ways you can actually use Piggy Bank. The first of which is what I've just described, aggregating assets from different chains to a single place. Who from here has many different assets on many different chains and finds it very difficult to manage? All right, not too many people. This is good. It means that you guys are handling your assets in the right way. But it seems to us that most of the people, not in this room, but generally speaking, don't do as good of a job in terms of managing their scattered assets. So with Piggy Bank, they can aggregate different assets from different chains in an aggregated dashboard so that they can have a better view of what tokens or assets they actually have. And then the second example is what we call the bridgeless cross-chain mint. Actually, right now we're having a campaign and a collaboration with BEVM, and we enable users from different chains to mint NFTs on BEVM without the need to bridge assets onto EVM or even having the need to have BEVM tokens. And now I'm going to share with you a video that we prepared that shows and demonstrates how this process of bridgeless cross-chain mint actually works. And so you can have a more tangible and practical understanding of how the process actually unfolds. Let's see. Yeah, so we connect our wallet. Then we choose the chain of our liking, OPBNB in this case. And voila, we have an NFT. And what I want you to take away from watching this video is that with this kind of functionality, you don't really need to have different tokens. You don't really need to bridge any tokens. You can only have a single type of token. You can complete the process with a single step, and you can achieve the result you want, simplifying the situation, making it more accessible to all those who are not familiar with these very complicated Web3 concepts. Before we wrap this up, I would like to share with you some of our important milestones and some of the things we have achieved thus far. The project was launched in October 2022. We were able to launch our first demo in March 2023. Then in September 2023, we completed our first round of funding and launched our first testnet. Then in February of 2024, we launched another testnet and version 1 of Piggy Bank. Then April of the same year, we connected to the BTC ecosystem, which was very important to us. May 2024, we launched version 2 of Piggy Bank. And then in June last month, we deployed our first Telegram mini app, where we had been able to attract 200,000 users in the span of a single week. It's not on the presentation, but I would also like to let you know that we will be deploying and releasing our first mainnet by the end of this month. So please follow us to stay up to date with that. And yeah, we also managed to integrate more than 20 chains and reach more than 40 partnerships. A very important one has been the one with Symbiotic, where, as I previously stated, we use their network to build our own decentralized sequencer network, and UXLink, which is one of the most, if not the most, the best app that has to do with social media on Arbitrum. Now they want to expand on different chains, and we're helping them in the process of doing so because they don't want their users to be going through the process of having to bridge assets to other chains because they know that that would be very difficult to achieve. So if you are excited to explore ways that we can achieve the results that we want and see how we can empower the boundless creativity of Web3, please do reach out to us. We have a booth upstairs, and we'll be more than happy to see how together we can create a mutually beneficial partnership that will be able to benefit the space as well.